And he's like, no, a paint. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you never heard of paint? I was like, obviously not. What? And he's like, like a pint of stew. I was like, are you serious? You so country bumpkin. All you can say is paint. It didn't even match. He didn't say it. He wasn't talking like, yeah, I'm down from south,
That's funny. Paint. Now, if he said it like with a Scottish bro, I got paint.
Yeah.
Got the paint.
See, if he was Scottish, I would have probably still not gotten it, but it would have made more sense.
Need to paint a stew.
That sounded really good through the headphones. I don't know what it sounded like in real life, but
paint a stew.
when he said a paint a stew, however how he said it.
I made to paint a stew.
Yeah.
Hello and welcome to the League of Logic podcast.
Crikey. I don't know what that means. I think they say that, though.
Robin every now and then just randomly
I
says
think that's
I was
Australian.
going to say on way of words.
crikey.
Crikey. I'm going to use the
Yeah,
word
I
crikey
speak-
and introspective today.
Yeah.
I'm going to use them both.
There you go.
Somewhere I'm going to fit them
Something
in.
that's little known about me is I actually speak fluent Scottish and Australian.
I found the word retrospection the other day. I'm not
In retrospect.
Yeah,
Retrospection.
yeah, but now
Retrospection.
I'm thinking about it. I'm like, well, what's the difference between introspection and retrospection? I guess intro is just specifically about the person, but retrospection could be about like an event.
I think in the retro part, it is the looking back upon and figuring it out. And the intro is in the moment looking inside.
It's the hindsight 2020 rule. That's what it sounds like.
That very much could be.
Because when I think retro, I think like Robin and David.
Yeah, rotary phones and
I miss rotary phones. I feel like there's so much that I missed out on.
You did.
Like rotary phones, big massive phones that you had to carry around with the antenna that you had to pull out. I would love to have to pull out an antenna.
no, you wouldn't. They always got bent.
Oh, I did.
Yeah, it was bad.
My mom and dad, they used to have an antenna. I remember that. That was cool. And also on their phone, they had like the coolest Snake game, like Snake when it first came out. And you'd just sit there and you'd like have the snake run around and eat the dots or the apples or whatever they were. And you get longer and you die and you'd be like, oh man, no.
Y'all ready?
Yeah, I guess.
Ready?
Let's do it. Hello and welcome to the League of Logic podcast where you can learn how to think for yourself. If you want to learn more about what we're doing, check out our website, leagueoflogic.com. Inside the website, you'll find some study tools that help you understand some of the topics that we cover. We also have an app that is available on the App Store and in the Google Play Store. Please, if you would, leave us a rating and review on whatever platform you are using. If you're looking at YouTube channel, you can write a comment. Rumble, you can write a comment. But if you're listening to the podcast, you'll have to leave a rating. And whatever platform you're using, please subscribe, follow, whatever button you got to push to keep up with the channel. It would help us a lot in getting the word out. Thank you for listening today. Now get ready for a much needed conversation about truth.
Woo!
Nice. Nice.
And I just feel like, I don't know, fancy today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel fancy too.
Gas cards.
Cool.
Need to announce that.
Oh, yeah, we need to announce it.
Actually, that's where I started going in my mind for a second there with the ratings and reviews. But
Okay, let it come out your mouth then.
Yeah.
we're giving away gas cards. If you want to win a gas card, we are giving out on a weekly basis throughout the rest of this month a $100 gas card. And the way you can win that gas card is by going to any one of the platforms we are on, whether it be Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, YouTube channel, Rumble. Go in there, subscribe or follow, whatever button, and then leave a comment. The comment, enter to win. When you do that and leave us a 5-star review, you'll be entered to win a $100 gift card.
Might as well just go ahead and give it away today, right?
Yeah.
Let me pull up my randomizer. By the way, I appreciate the multiple enter to win comments. However, you're only entered to win once. Alexis. I'm not calling anybody's names. No, man.
That was
She's
dedication.
awesome. She's awesome, man. Every single video, everything. Enter to win, enter to win, enter to win, enter to win. She's going to get a gas card. And for that fact, she's actually the winner for this week.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah.
And don't we have a clap
Yeah,
button?
do we have a clap button?
Oh, wait a minute. No, that's the wrong one. Wrong one. Yay! $100 gas card.
Good job. Woohoo!
Yeah, we're gonna let her dad pay for it this time because we're still looking for sponsors. Oh man, that's awesome. But yeah, do that, man. Enter to win gas card every week, and tell friends about us too. And we made we'll figure out how to do like you ever heard of a bird dog fee?
No.
They used to do a lot on car lots. If you bring somebody in who buys a car, you would receive a bird dog fee.
Okay, I understand the concept, but I've never heard it.
Yeah.
Heard it.
So we used to give away $100. We'll give you $100 if you would bring somebody in, they buy a car.
But only if they bought the car.
Oh yeah, they got to buy it. Yeah, because otherwise you don't have the $100 to give them in the first place.
Huh.
Yeah.
I understand.
It's like subcontract and commission.
Yeah.
I've never heard the term though, but
Yeah, bird dog fee.
incentive.
Interesting.
It's really fancy. I guess it's a referral fee, but bird dogs go out and find birds. Bird dog fees are if you go out and find buyers.
We just want subscribers.
Yeah, that's
You
all.
don't have to spend anything.
Yeah, it don't cost a thing. Yeah, just a little time. It could affect your sanity sometimes. It depends on which one. I was at the cabinet place picking up cabinets this week, and they're pretty cool people. I'm using a new cabinet company. It's a Nightingale. It's huge. So I'm in there, and there's a lot of people here that probably could use the League of Logic. So I call a meeting for all the people in the office up front. And my first question was, hey, you guys easily offended? And they're like, no. Perfect. If you'd like to enter check out our podcast.
Oh, man.
Oh, it's great. So, great
And
week. Here we are. What you got?
I was going to say, we are giving out these $100 gas cards. It is not a lie.
Yeah, it is actually the truth.
Who said
Oh.
that?
I'm working on my segues.
You missed it.
Dang it. These segues are getting too good for me.
I'm telling you, man, they're so smooth you can't even hear it.
I liked it whenever they were really obvious.
Yeah, they didn't make any
Like,
sense.
so let's talk about pollution.
Yeah. Man. Speaking of coffee, what do you think about donuts? See, that's a good segue. Only we don't have a donut topic.
Yeah, we don't have one of those, but
You liked them when they didn't match. So speaking of coffee, what do you think about airplanes
yeah,
or something?
yeah,
I only said that because I can hear one go by now.
because then my brain would pick
Yeah.
up on it.
I
But now,
first heard that airplane and I was thinking synthesizer. And I was like, is he starting to play Christmas music or something?
Yeah. It did make us a swoofy Christmas background.
it does look pretty swoofy.
I have a couple. So, with Christmas, I just want to put a teaser in for the December the 19th podcast.
Okay.
We're going to tell everyone all the big lies about Christmas.
Expose.
Are we doing like a 2-hour special or something?
I don't think it'll take 2 hours. Yeah. Well,
There's a lot of them out there about Christmas.
Can I drag in my blanket and tell the Christmas story?
yeah. Sure can. You have to leaves out the wise men. They didn't show up for 2 years. We'll get to that.
There's no Santa Claus.
Oh,
Now that's a shocker.
oh man. I didn't even
Man.
I know it. The funny thing about that is Sarah, she knows. She's always known. We decided not to lie to our children. I know it's a novel thought. We decided not to lie to them about anything, really.
It is a pretty novel thought.
So whether they like it or not, they get the truth. So she's always known. We still go through the motions, right? You know, Christmas morning, you got to don't get out of bed till we tell you to get out of bed. And this is when you get your presents. But she knows that the presents come from mom and dad. We just play the game.
Yeah.
Well, at school, they don't know. And Sarah does. So for a long time, I was like, Sarah, you have to be careful about who you tell this because they might not believe you. Well, this year in second grade, evidently they've become very, very spiteful. They're developing that personality that's like, I'm right and you're wrong kind of thing. And so there's been a discussion going on now for a couple of weeks because we're getting close to Christmas about the whole Santa Claus thing, to the point that one little boy actually cried.
Oh my goodness.
Sarah, man.
Sarah's such a monster.
I keep telling them that they're not real. I said, just go ask your mom and dad, and if they don't tell you a lie, they'll say Santa Claus is not real.
If they don't tell you a lie. If your parents tell you there's a Santa Claus, you can't trust them anymore.
Trust them about anything, man. You never know what you're getting in your lunchbox. I mean, goodness gracious.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it's fun, man. I wish I could be there for those conversations, on the playground.
Yeah.
Hey, Billy. His name's not Billy, but he's sort of sensitive, so I don't want to say his name.
Mm.
He believes in Santa Claus. Hey, Billy, there's no Santa Claus. I don't know if it went like that, but that's how I would do it if I was
Just Billy busts out crying like,
there is a Santa Claus.
Oh man.
Oh man.
Yeah. My parents went the same route and did not use Santa Claus.
Well, I'll tell you why. This is the thing about your kids when you were lying to them, and it seems harmless, right? But you tell your kids all their life when they grow up, there is a Santa Claus, and but he's not real. But you make a big deal out of it. And so now the kids are believing in a person that they cannot see, that they're trusting you to tell that is the real deal. And then all of a sudden, whenever they turn like 10 and they catch you or you get tired of it, you're like, oh, yeah, well, that was just a lie. But don't think it's a lie about Jesus. I know you can't see him either, right? And I'm telling you the truth about that one, but I was lying to you about Santa Claus. And I don't know how smart kids are. I know I was unique because I've always been a genius.
yeah.
Right, yeah. But you tell a kid one lie about Santa Claus, a dude he can't see. He lives at the North Pole. He has little elves. I mean, it's really similar to Jesus lives in heaven. There's angels. So believe in Jesus, but don't believe in Santa Claus because that was a lie. I just feel like it messes up your ability to give them real truth when you start lying to them like that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Easter Bunny. Here comes Peter Cottontail.
I don't even know how the Easter Bunny came about to be.
Huh. Well, there's our Easter episode.
Because
Just write that down.
I don't see how it's like the resurrection of Jesus Christ, and there's a bunny in the garden that Mary was working in that was eating carrots, and
That lays eggs.
he accidentally laid an egg or
You
something.
never seen the Cadbury commercial? Bark, 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 bark.
That's a chicken.
I know, but that's what the Cadbury bunny makes a bok bok noise because he lays eggs. Man, what is wrong with you people? Yeah,
I've never seen
I
that.
can't believe.
I don't watch commercials.
I'm putting a link on the website to the Cadbury bunny commercial.
Fine.
I'm not with it.
Really? You know what a Cadbury egg is, right? Everybody knows what a cat. Okay.
No, not really. Is that like one of those specialty wrap eggs?
It's one of these big chocolate eggs, and when you break it open on the inside, it actually has a white and yellow yolk like an egg.
No, I've never seen that.
It's a big ball of sugar.
It's a big ball. Yeah, it will. It is very sweet. But so they have this commercial where they're interviewing people to be the Cadbury representative, and they lay eggs, and so they want to hear the bark, 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 bark. So they have like a lion. He's like, roar. That ain't gonna work. The turtle, he just sits there. Then all of a sudden, the bunny comes out, and he's like, bark, 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 bark. Oh, perfect. Cadbury bunny. Elected.
What?
I'm serious. You can make me look it up right now, aren't you?
No, look at me.
And then you wonder why people can identify as a hippopotamus or an elephant.
Exactly. Yeah. That was way back before they even had this. I feel like I am a day.
Mm.
Yeah. So you mentioned Santa Claus, Easter Bunny, and these crazy things, and comparing it to Jesus. And I think whenever there's something important like that, especially biblical account, the world's going to come in and try to make some sort of story that will try to discount it, try to make it seem ridiculous, seem like just a myth, like just the old story of Jesus that you heard growing up, when in reality it's a historical account.
Mess it up.
Yeah.
And they'll tell a lie.
Conditioning for confusion, chaos, lying in the world. Starts young.
And that points back to the reality that, the Bible says, as we've established in the past, that the Bible's, a reliable source of historical accounts. The Bible says that we are not, I just almost lost it. We're not fighting against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and rulers of darkness. There is a spiritual enemy in the world today that does not like truth, fights against truth. And that's what we're dealing with today, and that's what we're trying to get people to think about.
We're so easy to... Okay, the question has become, is there ever a time when it is okay to tell a lie?
No.
What if your life is in imminent danger and the only way to tell a lie, or the only way to save it, is to tell a lie? I've heard this argument.
Are you talking about the argument with like the first school shooting that went down, and the guy came in and he's like, where's the students? And they were all in the closet, and she said they're out at the gym.
Yeah, that
scenario. So
yeah.
he shot the teacher and then went to the gym, and all the kids lived.
Yeah, something like that, like an ethics situation.
Yeah.
Dilemma.
The question is, do you have to answer with a lie?
I don't think so.
I don't either.
I don't believe
I mean,
so.
it's like almost when you ask that question, you're right up front, you're saying, well, you have to lie.
Yeah.
You don't. There's other things you can say.
Yeah, you don't.
I will say definitively that there is never an opportunity where it is okay to tell a lie. Lying is always wrong.
I was reading an article where it talked about the, I don't have it pulled up, but it's talking about the situation where the Israelites were coming into the land of Canaan, being led by Joshua in the Old Testament, and they sent 2 spies ahead into Jericho.
Mm-hmm. This is the one.
Rahab hid the spies in her house, and when the rulers or people of Jericho came looking, it's like, have you seen these guys? And no, they came through, but they left and went wherever she said. She lied.
She told a lie.
She told a lie. And they used that to say it's okay to lie, because she was, still,
considered a lady that was mentioned in the Bible. Yeah,
mentioned in the Bible in Hebrews as someone who had faith in God. She was in the hall of faith of the Bible. So, but I don't think the lying was commended in that.
God never said it was okay for her to tell a lie anywhere in there. It was wrong. God does say multiple times that lying is bad and not right, and you shouldn't do it. So there's people ask these questions all the time. They take that example and they say, okay, well, you're at your house and a bad guy breaks in. He says, where are your kids? Do you say, well, I don't have kids, or they're not here when they're all upstairs? Is it okay to lie then? No. Not okay to lie. You got some notes there. Let me let you ask your questions because I just saw it. I think that's a great question.
You like looking at my question?
Yeah.
Well, there is the everyday lie that we do that we often don't think about it. Like whenever your wife comes up and says, am I fat? First off, I think that's a horrible question to ask.
Yeah, if you're a woman and you ask that to your husband, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Yeah, because that's a pretty bad one. But, we do have those everyday situations that oftentimes you don't think about it, and it's often like, do I avoid a big fight, or do I just say, nah, babe, you look good, and let it be harmless or whatever? So that's one of the things that I've written down. And then also, I love telling stories. And the truth does not lend to good storytelling.
You have to embellish.
Yeah, you have to embellish the story. And sometimes, if you can make it really good, there's a decent amount of lie and there's a decent amount of truth, but you've got a rocking story. And so what about if you're not lying as to portray the truth, but just in telling a story that everybody already knows is a lie, but you're just, you're not necessarily trying to avoid truth or deflect truth or anything like that. It's just almost you're doing something else other than lying. Like, would it even be considered lying if you're telling stories?
Everybody knows that it's not true in the first place, and it's not a lie. Everybody knows it's not true. It's when you tell someone something and they believe it is true, but it's not true, that makes it a lie. And so for your question from your wife who says, Andrew, do I look fat in this dress? You just say, I'm going to tell you from years of experience. You ready? I got the answer for this. You sure do, baby. P-H-A-T, fat. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if I'm asked a question, write that down. If I'm asked a question and I cannot, or I don't want to answer it with a lie, so I decide to say nothing, is that a lie? No. So there is a difference between concealment and lying. There's a fancy word for that. Hold on, I'll think of it in a second. But there's for this lying where you make somebody think, deceive. That's Deception. It. Conceal and deceive. There's a difference. For instance, I dress up as an undercover police officer, and I am pretending to be somebody I am not. Is that a lie?
Well, if someone asks you if you're a cop, maybe.
That's why the rule is you have to tell them you are. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. When I get ready to go hunting, I don't wave a flag at the deer and say, Mr. Deer, I'm here to shoot you. I put on camouflage and cover scent because I want to conceal who I really am. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It almost seems like one of those splitting hair things, though.
Well, it is an absolute motive type thing. But if you ever say out loud with your mouth something that is not true in an attempt to make someone believe it, then it's a lie and it's wrong.
I've got a story that goes along with this. I grew up homeschooled, and we used a biblical based curriculum for our schooling, and during that one of the books I had to read in requirement for this was called God's Smuggler. Talked about a man named Brother Andrew who was taking Bibles behind the Iron Curtain in a communist area that smuggling in Bibles because they couldn't get their hands on them. So he's coming up to the guard station, entering in. He's driving this little VW, and the back of it's just full of Bibles. And there, people ahead of him are being checked. The cars are being searched. They've got dogs, I believe. And I just lost my spot.
I remember this story, though. This is a great story.
He comes up to the entrance, and he knows he's going to get searched. They're going to find all the Bibles in the back of his car. So he starts to pray. And he's like, Lord, what am I going to do? And then he says, as he prayed, a bold eye came to him. I know that no amount of cleverness on my part can get me through this border search. Dare I ask for a miracle? Let me take some of the Bibles out and leave them in the open where they will be seen. So he just doesn't try to conceal anything and proceeds through. And the guard just looks at his paperwork and just hurries him through and says, go on, get through. Didn't even search his car. They were sitting in the open. Could have been seen right through the window, but God honored his commitment to truth and helped him through. Mm-hmm. And I think that God hasn't changed. And I think that can apply to us now. A robber comes in looking for your family or whatever situation, God's going to honor the truth. It may not turn out like you think it does, but God will honor the truth.
I don't think God will ever allow you to be in a situation where you are forced to tell a lie. I don't believe that at all. I believe in any of those situations. I know it's hard because we've gotten so accustomed to just telling lie after lie after lie. How are you doing today? Great. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, your life stinks. Mm-hmm. But we got so accustomed to it, we don't realize it. So, bad guy comes in. Where are your kids? Why do you want to know? Why are you here? There's lots of responses you could say that aren't lies. Mm-hmm. You don't have to say, I don't have any kids. And then meanwhile, the baby's crying.
Yeah. I think that should be something to think about. We just talked about self-defense the other episode, about when is it okay to defend yourself with a firearm. Or I think that's an aspect that should be thought about as well, is can you verbally defend yourself in a situation like that? Have you thought about it ahead of time? Because negotiating, how do you answer a question in negotiating? You ask another question, right? Mm-hmm. You lead the conversation rather than letting the other person lead the conversation, which is, for me, I'm not an arguer. I'm not a debater. That's very difficult for me to do, but
that's why you just go ahead and shoot them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no debate.
In that situation, yes.
Debate's over.
I tell you, the biggest problem that you have when you start to become a liar, is that you have to always remember what you said.
Yeah.
And it is inevitable. You tell enough lies and they will begin to compound each other. And sooner or later, because we have this thing called the Law of Non-Contradiction, there's going to be a spot where they don't match. This is what makes God's word phenomenal. Because out of all the people that wrote this book over the period of time and compiled it all together, never in there is there ever a contradiction. That in itself backs up the fact that it's true and not a lie. Right? And so we have, in our current administration, we have a pathological liar who stole an election to become the president. Mm-hmm. And he can't open his mouth without telling a lie about stuff that does not even matter. I got 2.5 million miles on Amtrak. You've heard all these stories. Mm-hmm. That doesn't matter, but it's a lie. The guy he talks about that told him that was dead when he said the guy told him. There's all kinds of stuff. Right now, one of the biggest things they're telling us is that we are in a phenomenal recovery in our economy and that we are back to a pre-pandemic employment rate. And that is an absolute lie. And you can look it up. They had the November report came back with only 250-something thousand jobs added. They were predicting 500,000. Overall, the country right now is still 3.9 million jobs short of the pre-pandemic peak. It's a lie. I mean, there's numbers. You can't. They've become accustomed to lying to us so much. They just expect that because it comes out of their mouth, and it's true. Most of the people on that side of the world, when it's talking about conservative liberal type thing, they believe it. They don't even try to look it up. Oh yeah, that's great. We are woohoo. Economy's doing wonderful. I have asked people that are liberals, how do you feel about how this president is doing and our economy is doing? And they literally believe that he is doing a phenomenal job.
Well,
they believe it. The economy is great. Of course, they have a job. They're getting paid. They don't know.
Reported at 36%.
Mm-hmm. Yep. I have no idea.
I think another lie that is going around is that the masks work.
Whatever. Yeah.
In public, though, and when you're not on camera, supposedly.
I think.
Yeah.
The masks work. They prevent the spreading of disease. But they don't talk about. Well, I'm saying they say that masks work and they prevent the spreading of disease. Keep the particles in your mouth from spreading. But they don't cover your eyes, which is another place you can get a virus. And then also they don't talk about the fact that people are hanging them up in their mirrors of their cars and sticking them in their pockets and then putting them back on later and using them all day, the same one without replacing them and things like that, which completely discounts the point anyway. So there's contradiction. We talk about the law of non-contradiction, and it's a lot of conflict there. Even if the mask did work after all that, they wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but there's tons and tons of data that prove to you that masks are not effective against COVID. In fact, what's that?
Yeah,
in fact, there's also
they hurt you more than they help.
Yeah, and so the mask in school for the kids, which is an asinine thought in the first place because they're not really affected by it anyway. There is very, very solid data of very blue states and very red states, one requiring mask in school and one not, and there is no difference in the transmission rate whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
They make no difference. I was listening to, I think it was Glenn Beck yesterday or the day before. What's the guy's name? Stu. He's on there. And he quoted a stat. He said, if you took all, yeah, I don't know what his name is. Stu does America. Stu does this. Anyway, he quoted a statistic that said, if you took all the coronavirus in the world out of people and all we've ever had, all these little viruses, and you combined them all together, they would not fill up a Pepsi can. That's how small they are is what I'm getting at, right? And so this little bitty teeny tiny thing that all over the world has created such a pandemic that we're all so very afraid wouldn't fill up a Pepsi can. But a mask gonna block it. Such a lie.
Whenever COVID first started, I talked with one of my local doctors, and I asked him, I was like, dude, masks, why do doctors wear them? Why should I wear them? He said, well, Andrew, actually, masks don't really do a lot for you against like viruses and stuff like that. And this was before the government had gotten to doctors and said, we're going to take away your license if you don't do what we want. And he said the only reason that doctors wear masks is because when they're in surgery, in case something goes wrong and they actually nick an artery or like something splashes up at them, it doesn't go in their mouth and they get infected with whatever that person had. He said that's the only reason. It's to keep things from going in your mouth, not from going out.
Or if you sneeze, you don't want boogers inside of you whenever you're opened up.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be gross.
Yep. And so I was like, you know what, that makes a boatload of sense. So I stuck with that for a while.
It's the truth. But get ready because we got Omicron on the way.
Is he gonna
It's
devour
already
the
here.
earth?
It's the unicorn
It's
virus.
the new one. First case that we had in California this week was from a man who was, can you even use the term fully vaccinated now?
I was talking with a
Can
guy.
you use the word vaccine?
You can't. No, you can't.
I was talking with a guy the other day, and I was like, "What does it even take to be fully vaccinated?" He's like, "Well, I think if you get your 2 shots, and then you have your boosters every 6 months, which just kind of boost your immune system." He's like, "Honestly, I'm probably not even fully vaccinated anymore." And I was like,
That's depressing.
That sounds like a lot to keep track of, especially if you like keep track of it all, and then you miss one, and then all of a sudden you're just the same as everybody else."
Yeah, now they're talking about preparing a booster specifically for Omicron. By the way, have you heard about anybody dying from this one yet?
No. And they say it's really mild symptoms.
Supposedly where it originated was in Africa, right? And the African doctor, they got interviews, and they, you can listen to them if you want to, or you can just pretend that it doesn't exist, but it's there. They say very specifically, I think they had a total of 14 cases that they monitored at one time where they recognized it. Out of those 14 cases, only about 8 of the people were actually from Africa. The rest of them were travelers, so it's probably been anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
But she said that the symptoms were very mild. People usually were recovering at home, and no one had ever died. Now, here's the thing. Pay attention to words that people use in the media. And the word that we had for COVID back in 2019 or whatever it was started, 2019, 2020, was deadly. The coronavirus is the most deadly virus known to man. Not really, but that's what they said. Now it is most infectious strain yet. Most transmissible, which just means it can pass from person to person easier than the previous ones. Right. And so now they've had a very smart guy, right? He has looked up and he has decided, oh, yeah, that makes sense. I see now why it is more transmissible. It is because it has taken on qualities of the common cold.
Which is what it is.
Which is what it is to start with. Yeah, isn't this all coincidence? Anyway.
And that's so weird because the common cold just like vanished while COVID was here. There wasn't the flu.
The flu's gone.
The common cold is a
I
coronavirus.
haven't heard the cold mentioned since.
Well, I'm glad that it gave us a break because we were really getting pounded hard by COVID.
Yeah, that was very nice of it.
It was.
Let me tell you who else is a compulsive liar. Dr. Fauci.
Mm-hmm.
There are multiple statements that he have made that have been totally wrong. And then he turned around and just changed his mind, and it's okay. People still trust him. I just for us, we're all sitting here. If everything I told you guys turned out to be a lie, how well would you trust anything that came out of my mouth?
I'd probably say you got to take everything Robin says with a grain of salt.
Yeah, the grain, like a big one, like big enough to fill up this table.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yet he's the guru.
I'd be like, I'm not writing down that fat joke notes.
We had a guy in high school who told lies constantly. I hate to even say his name out loud. I won't tell you his real name, but we nicknamed him Wayne Lie. And then as kids, we made up a lie that was ridiculous and say, Wayne Lie showed up the other day. Oh, y'all don't know nothing about this. Remember VHS tapes?
Yeah.
We had lots of VHS. I know, here we go, retro again. You had VHS tapes, right? You remember whenever the worst part about a VHS tape, when you got done watching it, you had to rewind the stupid thing, and nobody ever rewound them, right? Mm-hmm. So you'd put the tape in and be like, oh, it's the credits, and you had to wait like 45 minutes for it to rewind.
Yeah.
So they came up with an invention that was a rewinder, specifically for rewinding VHS tapes, because you put it in, like, done, right?
We actually had one.
Yeah, you see what I mean? VHS rewinder. And so we would always say, Wayne Lie showed up the other day and said he hooked his VHS rewinder to his dirt bike. He can rewind a VHS in 0.5 seconds. Because he would make up dumb stuff like that. Lie.
Oh, man.
I knew it.
Well, that's the problem about lying. Like, That's one of the side effects that you don't really see, and often it's more. It's one of those side effects that is more serious as well. The Bible says that a good name is to be better had than riches and gold. And every time you tell a lie to everybody around you, that takes a little bit away from your name, takes a little chip away from your character until your word means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, in the now, you may say, oh, well, I'm fine with people having a little bit of my character taken away. But, I mean, eventually you get old. And what I mean is, like, we all live in the now as if we're going to stay young forever. And people don't plan for retirement as if they're going to get old. The same thing happens with your character. You know, you live in the now and think that everybody's going to take your word forever. But if you always lie, if you always embellish the truth, if you're always a rotten, dirty scumbag, you know, people don't, that follows you. And it's a whole lot easier to get riches back than it is to get a good name back.
I don't think people value it anymore.
Mm-mm.
I mean, because they'll say this guy will tell you a lie, but he's a good guy. You get that's speaking out of both sides of your mouth. He can't be a good guy and be a liar.
Mm-hmm.
Here's what Solomon said in Proverbs 18. The words of a man's mouth are as deep waters, and the wellspring of wisdom as the flowing rock. It is not good to accept the person of the wicked, to overthrow the righteousness in judgment. A fool's lips enter into contention, and his mouth calleth for strokes. A fool's mouth is his destruction, and his lips are the snares of his soul. The words of a talebearer are as wounds, and they go down into innermost parts of the belly. Mm-hmm. That's not a good description of somebody who tells lies.
I don't want to be that dude.
No.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to be that dude.
Solomon also says in Proverbs 6:16 and 17, there are 6 things which the Lord hates, 7 which are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked plans, feet that make haste to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and a man who sows discord among brothers.
And he must really hate the abortion doctors.
Yep.
They're not only lying to you, they're shedding innocent blood. Yeah, that's going on now. Have you heard some of the arguments that the pro-abortion people are putting out there during these Supreme Court hearings?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll just give you one. Or maybe more. I'll start with one.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that I thought was the most asinine thing I'd ever heard in my life was they said, we actually have studies that show that people who are deceased are dead-brained. That when you,
Okay.
Johnston County terms, when you poke them with a stick, they recoil. They have a reaction, a reflex. 40% of people who are dead or dead-brained will have a reaction when you poke them. And so you can't say that because a fetus in the womb recoils when you poke it with a stick, that it's actually feeling pain or alive. That's one of their arguments.
It's come to this.
Is it dead or dead-brained?
Dead or dead-brained, yeah. And so my whole point was, lady, what about the other 60% of the dead people or dead-brained that don't react? Go poke some live people and see what happens. What percentage do you get of the live people you poke with a stick?
Mm-hmm.
I bet it's about 90 or 95, right? About 90, 95, maybe 100, depends on who you're poking. You poke them with a stick, they're going to react. And every fetus you poke reacts. So that would, seems like to me, maybe that means it's alive and not dead. I don't know.
There's a few of us that have developed an intolerance to pain. So
Right, yeah. So poke them with a
like
stick all you want to and it
95%.
doesn't do anything. Yeah, that was one of them. Poke it with a stick and it still reacts and they're dead or dead-brained. So you can't use the baby fetus's reaction.
But I like the questions the Supreme Court's asking.
Oh, yeah.
That's forcing them to give these answers.
Mm-hmm.
And Thomas really brought it out, asking what amendment or what constitutional right is there for abortion?
Mm-hmm.
There's not one.
There isn't one.
And they can't come up with an answer. It has to do with liberty. No. that's the case, then it has to go back to the states. I think that's what's going to happen.
They'll push it back. One because they're not brave enough to make an open statement that abortion is murder.
Mm-hmm.
Which it's really not their job to do that anyway. Let's just be honest. It is their job to interpret what laws are there based on Constitution, right?
Because it's not a constitutional right.
And it's not a constitutional right. Therefore, they should just say, you know what, this Roe versus Wade thing that said that abortion was legal, they could overthrow that, overturn it. We're just going to wipe that one. That one was wrong. And look, you mentioned it during the abortion one. We didn't have the technology back then that we have now. And so to say that it was just a mass of cells, like a cancer or a tumor is a mass of cells, okay, so maybe they made judgments without enough information. But to deny the information that we have now is to deny the truth, and it is to live a lie. You cannot deny whatsoever that the thing, as they call it, inside of a mother's womb is an individual person that is alive. You can't deny that. Not if you're going to trust the science. That's what all the people say now, right? Trust the science, unless it's contrary to what we want to push on you. Then don't worry about the science. Take my word for it. Don't worry, I've only lied to you every other sentence. This one's true, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still not a constitutional right.
It's not.
It's like a driver's license. That's not a constitutional right.
Nope.
It's a privilege. I don't want to say abortion's a privilege at all, but it's more like an allowance. They allow you to kill. Is what it is.
The one that
It has to go back to the states.
The one in the Supreme Court now is from Missouri. Is that right? Missouri is the state. And the Missouri law that the state passed that became so controversial and made it to the Supreme Court, but it's not even saying that abortion is illegal. So we haven't even gotten to the point where abortion is murder. All they did, they took a step in the right direction, but they need to go further. Their step was after 14 weeks, a lady can't have an abortion. And one of the justices says, don't you think 14 weeks is enough time to decide whether or not you would like to keep the baby?
Yeah, that's 4. Is that 4 months?
That's over 3. Yeah, it's a little 3.5, basically.
That's a long time.
So you don't know the first month. Second month, you start to wonder. Third month, yeah, I'm pretty much pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Let me think about it for 6 more months. Because that's the rules now that they're telling you. You can, right up to the day of birth, you can have an abortion.
I was talking with a fella the other day, and it's unfortunate that our society has come to where emotion overrides truth.
Yes, it's true.
I think it's really sad. But we were talking, and I made the claim. I said, it's not okay to kill somebody. And he said, so if a woman got raped by her father, you would make her carry that baby. I said, I wouldn't make her carry it, but it's not okay to kill a person. And the argument was not even about killing people. It was just about the emotional inconvenience of the child. And I'll say it out there. Some people have had some horrible things done to them, and I recognize some horrible things that have happened. And some people, well, there are bad things that happen to us in this life, but that doesn't give us a right to go out and kill people.
2 wrongs don't make it right.
Yeah. Like, for example, I have cancer. That doesn't give me the right to go out and kill some young child with cancer and say, man, I spared him from a life of sorrow. I mean, that's not how that works, And then also another thing we were talking about is he said, this lifetime of emotional trauma. It's not a lifetime of emotional trauma. It's almost like a kid waiting to get into an inflatable. When he's waiting to get in that inflatable, dude, the minute and 30 seconds he has to wait for the other kids to get out, that's an eternity for him. But once he gets in, it passes super quick. 9 months. I mean, all you have to do is carry that child for 9 months. Like, that's not a lifetime.
Yeah, and there's nothing to it, man. I don't know what they complain about.
I mean, I'm not.
Well, you just stepped in that one, didn't you? That's the way to get comments.
Yeah.
I mean, this may be from my ignorance. I don't know, but
I know I've never been pregnant either.
Like, 9 months, I don't know what it's like to carry a baby, but if you don't want that, you can put that baby up to adoption, and there's people that will adopt it.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
You just can't kill it within 9 months. You have to bring it out, ta-da, here's the world, and then somebody else will take it.
Tons of people looking for babies.
You could also not get pregnant.
Abstinence is a
We don't talk about that much.
Yeah, abstinence is a 100% sure guarantee you ain't going to get pregnant.
I got to find that guy, though, that I'll look for it this week. He said that, when you live in a world that, you live in a world where no one will ever believe the truth again, when you can have people say out loud with their own mouth that a man can be pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
If you can say that out loud and be okay with it, you'll believe anything. And that's the part that has been taking control. So yesterday we were having a conversation in the living room, Pops comes over to get the trash. They always ask the same question. What's your topic going to be this week? We do have followers, right? We ever have a few, but when the ones that follow it, they really like it. I wish they would tell more people because I think more people would like to listen to us. He says, what's your topic going to be? And I was like, man, there's so much stuff happening. I have no idea. I mean, everywhere you look, there's, people are just lying to you. There it is. But so they say, well, wonder what it is about the world right now that they don't believe the truth. Why are they okay believing the lie? And I actually knew the answer to that question because I had seen it before. Have you heard the KGB defector? What was his name? I got it here. Yuri Bezmenov.
Never heard of him.
Man, in the 80s, I got this video. It's 13 minutes long, dude. I would love to just hit the play button. Everybody just sit back and listen, but that would probably be boring. I'll put this on the website. This dude is a KGB defector. You know what that means, right? A defector.
Yeah, I know. I understand defector, but what's the?
So the KGB is like our CIA. It was a spy. He was a Russian spy, right?
Okay.
He was a Russian spy. He got sick of it. The only way he could get away was to flee to the United States. Here he was safe. He became a defector. Okay. He goes through the entire plan for the Marxist revolution that they have forced on America.
Through
Did he write a book?
Mm-hmm.
1980?
Somewhere in the 80s, right?
I mean, like the title, I think, wasn't it?
Oh, I don't know what the title. I don't read. I don't know how to read.
I think I've heard about this guy.
Probably, yeah. So this guy. So here's what happened. He said the movement that the communist people did. It was not a. Well, first of all, he said that you need to be very aware that right now we are in a flat out war, not with guns or bombs, but in a flat out war for just general liberties and freedoms in life, and they're doing it through. They did a demoralization, is what he said was the first step. That happened in the 60s and the 70s when you had all these people that came out of the colleges that were all about free love and, make love, not war and all this stuff. It was a demoralization. And those people at this time in the late 80s when this video was made, they had taken over positions in government and they were running businesses, school systems. They were all in there. And this is where the agenda actually started making its way to the school system. And so now you're training kids in this Marxist communist type revolution type deal. And you see it all the time. We see it now because it's becoming like in your face, bold. But he'll say it takes 15 to 20 years to get past this demoralization. In the 80s, he said this step is pretty much complete. Okay.
They jumped all over it. Is what he's saying. The whole video.
He actually said that the people who are implementing these types of training, because it's training, it is actually programming people's brains. It is a psychological warfare.
Mm-hmm.
It's programming their brains. He said that they were all surprised that it made it as easy as it did.
America sucked it up.
Yep, sucked it right up with the moral relativism and moral superiority and things we're just going to be accept. I wore my tolerance shirt just say no. We're going to tolerate and accept everyone, because we are good, kind, loving people, and America's for all of us. No, it's not. It's not. It's not for a bunch of Marxist communists. I'll tell you that right now. Yeah, I don't believe that at all. It was never intended to be a Marxist communist country ever. Not now, not ever. All right, so that was the demoralization. Then it was a train your kids and you get them to the point, and here you are. And he said, and you will find that you will get to a position where these people who have been programmed through a plan that they actually had to implement, they implemented it and it worked, but they will be so programmed that you can show them truth and they will deny that it actually exists. He uses an example. He says you could take these people right now and you could carry them over to Russia and show them a concentration camp or a cage full of prisoners, bring them back, they'll deny that it was real, that it was not what you said it was something different. And he said the only time that these people will actually realize it and admit that it is real is when they end up in one and it's too late.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he says that we're pretty much lost. I know it sounds terrible, and I don't want to be all gloom. He said, right now, you're pretty much lost. You're not going to change these people's minds at all. The only way that you're going to do it, you can reverse it. But if it took 30 years to implement, it'd take 30 years to reverse. And you got to start at the very beginning, and you have to train an entire generation to think freedom and liberty and not communist and Marxism until those people get up there and they can start changing things. And I'm hoping that America's gotten smart enough that is the direction that we have started to shift into. But man, there are so many of these brainwashed people that refuse to believe the truth that it's going to be a tough, man. It's going to be a battle.
I think I can't remember all the videos. It's been a while since I've seen it. But I think he gets into rewriting history, like the removal of statues. This is in the 80s. So a lot of what we're seeing going on today is,
he talks
critical
about
race theory, all of this, the division.
He absolutely
like
talks about
racism.
social justice.
Yep.
In the 80s. The impact of social justice, it is part of the plan for the takeover.
My wife and I, we heavily consider homeschooling our kids. But one of the things I always think about is, homeschoolers. Those kids that you can obviously, you don't even have to say, were you homeschooled? You already know they were
Look at that
homeschooled.
one.
But
I said, yeah, look at that one.
You ever
But-
listen to Tim Hawkins talk about the homeschoolers?
we're going on a field trip. We're going to go to like the grocery store.
Yeah, get the rope.
Yeah.
Everybody holding on to the rope.
But when I go back and look at, like, in my mind of homeschoolers that I've met, they are very intellectually strong people.
They are.
Like, there's a lot of times we can be repulsed by them, but they are almost the complete contrast of what we see comes out of public schools and even Christian schools today. Like, they're just very emotionally strong. They're mentally strong. Most of them are way advanced in their intellect from what we are. And so, I don't know, man, homeschooling. Every time I think about homeschooling, I'm like, that's the way to go.
It is the way to
saying
go.
Most of it because he's looking over here at me and I'm just an average Joe. I was homeschooling.
The people who are homeschooled or can go to a Christian-based school, which I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you, when we go to Christian schools, and it's starting to infiltrate into Christian schools now.
Mm.
It is coming. It's already made its way in, and I see it, and I fight it. And because I fight it, I have, of course, everywhere I go, I have a reputation. It's not always, pleasant. But at the Christian school, I have a reputation. They understand that dude right there is controversial. That's how they look at me.
Mm.
And some of them may even consider it to be not so Christian-y. Right? But I refuse to be a part of any establishment that claims truth and lives a lie and be quiet about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe in the Christian school and I believe in homeschools. And I think those are the only hope that we have for children when we're training these things. And people just have to get sick and tired of living the lie. And it's happening some. I mean, it's part of the reason why we're doing the legal logic thing, just to be able to show people that all this stuff is a lie. And hopefully you can tell them enough. He's lying. They're like, oh yeah, he's actually lying,
Mm-hmm.
and then do something about it.
Well, I think I agree with what you just said, but going back a little bit, man, this thought is almost, it's like right there. Okay, so I think one of the biggest problems that we have right now is no one's willing to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we all want to go to rallies and we're like, no, we're anti-mask. And then the government says, hey, you can go to this rally, but put your mask on there. Like, oh, sorry about that. And you put your mask on. But there's like, if you're going to homeschool your kids and you want to have a good future for your kids, you know, that's going to cause sacrifice. You know, you may not be able to go out to eat all the time. There's a lot of things that you won't be able to do. But if you want change, it's almost like nothing's free, you know. If you want change, you have to give something.
Mm-hmm. You have to, absolutely.
This needs to change. I wish somebody else would do that.
Yeah.
It's like we're doing a puppet show, and I wanted there to be a change so that the kids could have something at church. But that puppet show doesn't exist without Andrew's sacrifice and time.
Yeah.
And effort, you know, in which that comes from other places. You know, sometimes it comes from, you know, unfortunately I get sidetracked and I take out time with devotions and spending time with the Lord to put towards that, or sometimes I sacrifice time with Michaela. But there's got to be sacrifice if you want change. Otherwise, you're just sitting there by yourself like, I wish things would change, but you're not willing to do anything about it.
It's a struggle that I have tremendously because once you begin this journey of searching for truth in everything, not just biblical truth, but once you begin to look for truth in everything, the world gets on your nerves bad, right? I mean, to the point that you're just like, I mean, it'll make you angry sometimes. I can't believe it. Why aren't you paying attention? Are you really? And I don't want to ever turn into a dude that's like, you're a moron, you know, because that ain't doing anybody any good.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I've got people that are supposed to be intelligent people that are past clients and friends and family members and everybody. They're supposed to be intelligent people. They are smart, but yet they don't have it right. They will claim to be Christians. They will go to a church on Sundays and Wednesday nights, and they still are snowballed by the lies that come out of administration and government and everywhere else. And I don't understand how that can be unless what this Bezmenov man said was actually real. And to hear something back from the 80s in retrospect. In retrospect, if you look what he said in the 80s and you try to apply it to now, that dude was spot on before it ever happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like biblical prophecy, you know, almost at that point. If what's the sign of a good prophet?
What he says comes true.
What he says comes true, yeah. And so if we would just take some time for introspection.
Man, you're killing it today.
I knew I was going to use that word somehow.
Got him in there.
Yeah, I got him in there. There was one other one I was supposed to use. I don't remember what it was. I don't know. I'm going to say it in a minute just out loud, just for the sake of saying it. But look, really, how can people deny truth?
They willingly do it. I get like you do. I get aggravated sometimes. You got to step away from it every once in a while. You got to take a break.
They don't want to hear the truth.
But it goes back to what Andrew's talking about. We see these issues, we see these problems, we have a hard time accepting it because we know what the truth is. And then what do we do about it is the question. Are we willing to put forth enough effort to try to change people's minds to be able to say something? And so inside of a church, we're fortunate that in our church we're pretty truth bound. You know what I mean? We don't step outside of those things, and that's phenomenal. However, there are other churches that are, man, you got to wonder. And I know people in those churches. I've asked those people some questions that sometimes can actually hurt the relationship between me and them because of the questions I ask. You know, and so, you know, at one point there was a local spot here in town that had just voted in a female pastor. I got no problem with ladies teaching, but I don't know that it's ever biblical for a female to be a pastor of a church. I don't think that's true. I think that's contrary to Scripture. And it's nothing degrading against a lady. It's just the order that God set up. He knows better than we know.
It's just it's the job position of pastor.
It is.
It's not a prophetess. It's not evangelizing or anything else.
It's just that position as a pastor. And so whenever that happened, then I had another friend that was like, well, they're asking, what do you think about me? They've asked me to do something with their youth group to be like a youth pastor. And so, I mean, fortunately, I mean, this friend, man, he's solid as a rock. You know what I mean? He and I can talk to each other. We don't get offended. We consider it. And so I was like, man, I just don't know that I would join myself up with a church that is not solidly standing on God's word because of that. I said, so just be careful how you begin to associate yourself with basically a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so we have all these people that we deal with constantly. Is there ever a spot where you just say, well, I'm just going to let that one go?
If you're lazy.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of spots.
Yeah.
It's almost like whenever a pastor says, anybody had an opportunity to witness? I had several that I was like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, liars. We're all liars.
There's a big willingness to accept lies, though. The world has changed.
I think something to mention, we've mentioned this before earlier. Our goal is not to go out and offend people. We're not trying to talk down people. We're trying to promote the truth. And sometimes the truth hurts. But the truth is the only thing that's constant and reliable. We want people to understand the truth. The truth will set you free. So we're not trying to cut people down, and we say some things that, can come off as offensive. That's not the goal. We want you to understand the truth. We want you to think through what you're being told, what you believe. Find the truth and be willing to search for it.
The truth matters.
I think it comes down to choice now. Because the lies are in your face, they're obvious, because the truth is right there. With the election, with vaccines, everything that's going on, the truth is out there. People are literally making a choice. Which side do I want to be on? Which one do I want to believe? It's not like they're so deceived. It's like the mask, man. The proof's out there. The masks don't work. But some people just choose. They don't want the truth.
That'll be a hard day whenever you're standing before God and you say, well, I had the truth available to me, but I just chose not to believe
rejected it.
Yeah, just rejected it.
It's so weird. He's like, well, the consequences,
From the worldly base of that, though, it works both ways. So you got a spiritual truth that is there. It is His word. He gave it to us. We can't deny it. It's provable, evident. I mean, whatever. We know it's true. People will reject it. Then you go into the secular part of the world. There's always different narratives. They'll settle in on the side that they makes them feel the best, and then they don't care what the other one is. Doesn't matter if that side was right or wrong. Mm-hmm. And so they just decide to ignore it. Ask anybody who is a total liberal. Do you read Breitbart? Have you ever watched Newsmax?
No.
Did you ever listen to Rush Limbaugh? Any of these, and they're like, no, I can't stand that. That's a bunch of liars. I just turn it off. I mean, a lot of the stories that I get that I talk about come from the liberal media, right? I'll read, I know what they think. And that's how come I know it's a lie, right? Because I'm looking at all of it. They just refuse. They'll just settle in on one side, and that's where they hang out.
Yeah. Ephesians 4:25 says, therefore, having put away falsehood, let each of you speak truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another.
Where is any of this any different than the garden?
It ain't no different.
It ain't no different.
That's where it all started. It started with a lie, and it's still here.
Mm-hmm.
Did God really say that Joe Biden was a crooked dude? Well, yes, he did. He did say Joe Biden was crooked. Are you sure? He's going to give you free money for sitting on your can and doing absolutely nothing. Well, that sounds pretty good. Maybe he's not so corrupt. See how that worked? Happened in the garden. I know I'm an idiot. I can't help it.
Hey, I was the one that walked in and said, wouldn't it be great if we were in heaven having a rave party about Jesus?
Yeah.
I know exactly where you're coming from.
My brain just is. Oh, man.
When the guy says that he took part in the negotiating the 6-Day War.
Oh, I have that.
He was the liaison. How was that possible? He was, 24 years old in college?
I have that, the 6-Day War. I wonder if I can make that play. Anyway, yeah, he claims to have served in the liaison during the 6-Day War. The only problem was he was not around then. He was still in college. He hadn't even gotten this. And they're like, oh, wait a minute. He was talking about something different. Man, Joe Biden is the most, this is a truth statement that I'm going to make, and I don't care what anybody thinks. I can show you. He is the most corrupt politician that we have ever had in the president spot. Absolutely 100%. There is video that came out when he was a senator, when he's working his way up to this place, where he takes his son, Hunter Biden, around to these big Senate parties with all the big donors and things like that. And so the purpose is, it's like a wingman, only they're not trying to pick up chicks. They're trying to pick up money from these businesses. And Joe Biden can't take it directly because he's a senator. That's illegal. But him and Hunter had a joint bank account, and he would introduce Hunter to these business owners. They would exchange information. Hunter and the businessman will go over there to see what they could, as Joe Biden says, work something out. You know what I mean? To be able to do business with a dude who ain't got a clue about business. All he knows is crack and hookers, right? And now they actually have the evidence, because that doofus left his laptop with someone with all the emails on it showing it. That they had a joint bank account, and these businesses would pay Hunter Biden these millions of dollars, and Joe Biden would get 80% of it, or more than half. I don't remember exactly what the percentage was, but more than half. And the reason we know it is because Hunter was getting a little aggravated by the fact that he was only getting a minuscule portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so he started trying to work some deals on his own, trying to sell off some spots for his pappy, and he's got emails. The big man's not getting any of this money,
Mm-hmm.
Crazy stuff. Have you seen his art that they're selling? You should look up Hunter Biden's art.
That'd be interesting to see.
What? His art, his Burisma stuff. I'm an oil and gas man. He's so dumb. He says it out loud. What do you think, that you got this job at Burisma on the board because of your dad? Your last name's Biden? Yeah, probably.
Have you seen the story they're trying to cover all this up with about Tucker Carlson?
No, I hadn't seen that one.
He in that laptop they found emails where Tucker was thanking him for sending a letter for his son or daughter. I can't remember which one. Anyhow, to get into school.
Uh-huh.
And they're saying, well, good gracious, they were friends.
Oh, man.
And Tucker was talking junk, about all this stuff. And they were like good buddies, calling each other buddy and everything else. They never said anything about them being neighbors.
Oh, yes.
They lived next door to each other.
Yeah.
So there was constant communication between the two of them.
That's happening now, too, with the whole Epstein didn't kill himself trial. They got the Max. Her name is like Ghislaine, but they call it Ghislaine. It's not spelled that way. If you read like me, it's like Ghislaine or something. But Ghislaine Maxwell, she's the lady who, I guess, harvested the children, kind of. You know what I mean? She put things into rotation.
She's the madam.
Yeah, she was the madam of the house, Epstein Island. All right, Epstein, he had these safes, these vaults and stuff where he kept records of all the people that went in and out of this joint. And now that this lady is up there, they literally have a little black book of people. And inside of this little black book are a lot of the Clinton names, probably over and over again. And so this is why you don't hear much of it. You ever heard a lot? You probably haven't heard nothing about it, have you? Mm-hmm. They're keeping that very quiet. And so initially what they said was, oh, man, we got names of all these bigwig people. Speculation here. This is what they think. They're still trying to get there. They think that Epstein was basically a CIA operative for America who would take the bigwigs of the world, the world leaders, to an island and basically, what do you call it, blackmail them, or, whatever you call it, with children sex crimes, and be like, got you now, buddy. You're going to help us do some things, right? It was diplomatic relations. Bad joke, whatever. And so, so here we got this, and so now we have a book of all these people's names. And guess what one of the names was that was on Epstein's airplane at one time? He had his own plane and went back and forth to this island. So he didn't have to worry about booking. Donald Trump. They put his name out there. And it was Donald Trump, Bill Clinton. I mean, he was thrown in the mix with all of them. Well, turns out this week that was debunked. Donald Trump had never been on Epstein's plane. But they thought they were going to make people shut up on our side. If they put one of our dudes on the plane, we'd be like, maybe we just shouldn't mention it. I got news for you. If Donald Trump went to Epstein Island and was a part of this stuff, he would be I like to call him an ugly word. I wouldn't like him, right? That'd be wrong. It wouldn't be right just because Donald Trump done it. I'm about truth and fact. I don't care who did it, whether it was Donald Trump or Joe Biden. And so they're keeping all that quiet too.
The truth is, long before Trump run for president, he banned Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago.
He sure did.
Because of the way he acted around women.
So they do have pictures of Donald with Epstein. And, I mean, obviously used to go to his club, you know. And it was a relationship thing that they had like a business, but he didn't fall for it like the rest of them did.
But the Pope did.
The Pope did.
And I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't seen the pictures. Yep.
You know, it's a weird place when they have a picture of Bill Clinton in a blue dress, man. Come on, what is going on down there? You know, they had it. It was a painting of Bill Clinton wearing a blue dress and red heels laid out on a chair, you know, like, hey, baby. It was a painting that they had on the wall on the island.
That is some weird mojo.
It's weird, dude.
You haven't seen it, Andrew?
Mm-mm.
Oh, man.
Man.
You don't look at the news.
Nope.
Because it's everywhere.
Anyway, lies.
Yeah.
Everywhere is lies. Just don't believe anything that anybody says, even us, man. Check it out. Right?
Mm-hmm. Look for the truth.
Looking for truth. Y'all good?
Yes, sir.
Got anything else you want to add?
Nah.
No.
I'm just going to look the picture up for Andrew.
Yeah, look it up.
That would mess his brain up.
Thank you for listening to the League of Logic podcast. If you haven't already, please leave us a rating and review. It'd help us out a lot in promoting what we're doing. Also, we have a store. It's available. You can access it through the website, leagueoflogic.com. Get t-shirts, hoodies, and other things just in time for Christmas. Also, just in time for Christmas, as we mentioned earlier, we are doing the $100 gas giveaway every week through December. We have just announced a winner for this week. So
right now, Alexis has gas.
But also, you cannot win twice. But if you will subscribe to the podcast platforms, give us 5-star review, and send us a comment, enter to win. You can enter to win one of those gas cards. Also, if anything said has made you think or made you mad, please check it out for yourself. We want you to look for and know the truth. If you are already a follower of truth, Book of James says, be doers of the word, not hearers only. The one who looks at the perfect law of liberty and goes away is like someone who's looking at himself in a mirror and walks away. Forget what manner of man he was. What are you doing to promote the truth? Think about it. Thank you again for listening to the League of Logic podcast. We look forward to you tuning in on the next episode.
All right.
Music wasn't long enough.
Yeah, you outrun the sound clip.
I'm sorry.
Sorry.
You just need to be like one of those really fast talkers.
Speed reader. Thank you for listening to the Large Podcast. If anything said made you think or made you mad, please check out for yourself.
At the end, say viewers' discretion is advised.
Your discretion is advised.
We're not cutting any of this out. Bye, y'all.
Please see website for details.